As a near-death experience researcher, it's very exciting to me to see near-death experiences where they encounter deceased loved ones. We know that even though the brain is shut down during a near-death experience, unconscious or clinically dead, they're being reunited with their loved ones. And that's what's going on with David in his description in his video with Crystal. Absolutely inspiring to me personally, knowing that these after-death communications, which by the way, David's video is among the most amazing ADCs I've ever seen, but it is absolutely inspirational to me to know that we're all going to be together again. Certainly what David's presenting with his ADC video, and certainly from other research, that's some of the strongest evidence I can imagine that there really is life after death. And that's a message, an important message for all of us.
Daddy, what does T-E-A spell? Daddy, what does T-E...
No. No. No.
What does T-A-E spell?
Oh.
Hey.
Oh, you like that?
Right away, that's a dinosaur. Me picked up.
The night Crystal died, August 9th, 2021, I fell asleep before she came home. The children were deep asleep. I was awakened to the sound of her voice calling my name, David, David, repeatedly, coming through like an old AM radio station near my staff. There was a lot of static, like a real radio station. There was a profound reason Jesus told the apostles, like every prophet, they had to have their staff more than any possession in Mark chapter 6. Because by keeping their energy tuned to the frequency of the staff as a high-frequency musical instrument, an antenna, Jesus could stay connected to them after he resurrected because they would be vibrating at the frequency of the staff as an antenna, which has an exact receiving frequency. In fact, I did the math and I know the exact frequency of Aaron's staff, the biblical staff. My staff was the exact same measurement as the prophet Aaron's, 2.5 royal cubits. Crystal's voice came from my staff. It was loud and full of panic and static. I was terrified because I heard Crystal do this 2 times at around 3 and again at 3:33 a.m. I knew it was urgent. I woke up, went on the balcony under the stars, and tracked her phone's location on my iPhone. It was up on the side of a mountain. I didn't know if someone's house was there or not. I did not know what this all meant at that time. I did not know she had ended her life on the mountain yet. The next morning early, I got the children and Crystal's mom, and we went to find her. What we found devastated the entire family. After my wife released herself, because that's what she did, from her beautiful feminine body, the incredible experiences she had in her own life and giving birth to our 2 daughters, we sent her music recordings. I mean, Crystal did a lot of beautiful music. She was a trained jazz singer and trained opera singer from Los Angeles. And she, it really moved me over the years with her voice. I mean, she would sing opera and just bring me to tears, in my own house and knowing that nobody else in the world was ever going to hear this. But during her cremation, we decided to take her recordings and the voices of our children and send them out on an antenna array. Our friend Jimmy Blanchett was willing to do this, and he put her recordings and the voices of the children and sent them out at 432 megahertz and 150,000 watts during the cremation right into the sun. And the sun is 8 minutes and 21 seconds away for a radio signal, which is at the speed of light. And then in the following weeks, we sent her signal to Mercury, the recordings to the planet Mercury. And Mercury is about 8 minutes away. Then we sent them to Venus, which is about 6 minutes away at the speed of light. We sent them to Mars, about 12 or 13 minutes at the speed of light. And then we sent them to Jupiter, about 45 minutes at the speed of light. And then we sent them to Saturn, finally to Saturn. And I was inspired by the fact that the Greeks, the Pythagoreans, taught that all of our planets were musical instruments, if you will, producing frequencies, and that the departed souls and the pre-born souls lived in the harmony of the order of the solar system. And there was life on all of the planets, of course, vibrating with tenuous bodies of light, Pythagoras described, and that when we depart, we would go on that journey. So when we sent this radio signal out, I had no idea how profound what was going to happen would be. The messages Crystal sent back would reveal the location of heaven, reveal the greatest hidden secret of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, Jesus' ascension, and the location of where he ascended to. Yom Kippur, and confirming the poet Dante's visions of paradise. Crystal would be for me, her husband, what Beatrice was for Dante, my beloved guide through the heavens in the afterlife, with the only difference being their exact orbital periods around the sun would be revealed. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letters to the Corinthians about a man in Christ who was taken up to the third heaven and heard unspeakable things of the mystery of the heavens that it was said would be unlawful for a man to utter. Unlawful for a man to utter would mean no one would believe it lest they call it heresy. Dante's third heaven is Venus, and Dante relies on Ptolemy's model of the solar system. In Revelation 22:16, Jesus himself declares himself the morning star, which is Venus. Venus has been known since antiquity as both the evening and the morning star. Did Jesus mean he claimed dominion over Venus? Jesus declares that Venus is his dominion after Isaiah 14 reveals that Lucifer was cast down from the morning star to the earth. That means Venus is God's dominion, and he will not tolerate Satan living there. But he does tolerate Satan to rule on the earth for a period of time. There is that ominous scene in Matthew where after Jesus' 40-day fast, Satan gets into Jesus' mind. He actually gets into his mind and takes Jesus to the top of the temple with his head 60 feet in the air and tells him to jump. Can you imagine Jesus jumping from 60 feet to his death? Of course Jesus doesn't jump, but Satan keeps tempting Jesus by then coercing him to the top of an exceedingly high mountain and tells him to fall down again. Jesus was powerful enough to overcome the power of the dark side, weakened by his long fast. But what people miss is that Jesus was still taken up there by that terrible voice in his head. That shows you how powerful the dark side can be at times. Jesus overcomes and wins the battle until that dark force would get him on the cross and kill that body another way. Jesus wins again by the power of the new life and the new heaven and the new earth. Crystal Sereda did not win that war on the earth, for she jumped from her high place. But she won her battle in the heavens with her God. She was baptized in an Orthodox church in Vancouver, BC. What is amazing is that all of the planets we sent Crystal's radio transmissions to, she responded from Venus first. Crystal did this by calling my name out audibly at certain intervals in time from the date she died, August 9th, 2021, to the date her angelic voice would audibly pierce my ears in the middle of the night. All I had to do is what she told me, was to calculate the number of days that had passed between the two dates and record the number, and I would know what it means. The first date was April 9th, 2022, which is 243 days after Crystal died. Her voice pierced me again, coming from my staff as a frequency transmitter receiver. It was perfectly audible. It takes Venus 243 days to turn from sunrise to sunset to sunrise, which is one full day on Venus. It was remarkable. I mean, this is a Venus day. I used a calculator online every time this happened. That means Crystal is telling me that Dante and Pythagoras were right. There are souls on Venus, the third heaven, as in Paul's letter to the Corinthians. I was so excited beyond belief. Crystal had a mathematical system with me to tell me where she is, and where she would go next by a period of days or orbits of planets in the solar system, consistent with Dante's model. Dante wrote his famous Paradiso in the 14th century, recording his actual visions that he received of the ascension process of ascended humans with planetary locations where they reside in the realm of the known planets for the evolution of the human soul progressing throughout God's 9 levels of paradise. According to the book of Revelation, most Christians begin at the level of the new earth, or earthly paradise, which is the first level of heaven Dante records with Beatrice, where humans experience the first level of God's love and bliss conquering all human suffering. It is a perfect earthly paradise. Those who reside there live in perfect harmony and paradise until they gain the ability to ascend to Mercury, the second heaven, Venus, the third heaven, the Sun, the fourth heaven, Mars, the fifth heaven, Jupiter, the sixth heaven, Saturn, the seventh heaven, and the eighth and the ninth Dante gives names for because in the 14th century, Uranus and Neptune, which are the eighth and the ninth spheres, were not yet discovered. Dante describes the eighth heaven as a sapphire-colored sphere which might be describing Uranus before it was ever discovered at the end of the 18th century, and perhaps from Uranus he's looking at Neptune in its true known sapphire color before it was discovered in the mid-19th century. This is where Dante meets Beatrice for the first time since her earthly passing, before he could capture her in marriage, the earthly paradise. He was devastated by her early death on earth, and now she would be his guide, prophesied by Jesus himself through the 9 levels of the heavens, taking Dante to the greatest height a human could bear in its attempt to gaze directly at the source of God. I just heard Crystal at 9:30. Yeah, I just heard her mama.
Yeah.
She said my name so clearly. Came from a little right there. 9:30 bath time. In the ancient Greek, the goddess Harmony holds the secret to the harmony of the order of the solar system, and she is symbolized by Phi, the symbol for the golden ratio. The golden ratio is a ratio of 1 to 1.618 defined by Leonardo Fibonacci's famous number sequence that leads towards an infinite expression of golden ratios. His sequence is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, 233, etc. To get the next number in the sequence, we just add the 2 numbers in the sequence starting with 1 plus 1 equals 2, 1 plus 2 equals 3, 2 plus 3 equals 5, 3 plus 5 equals 8, etc. The higher up in the sequence we ascend, the 2 pairs of numbers form a ratio of 1 to 1.618. For example, 89 to 144 is a ratio of 1 to 1.679, and 144 to 233 is a ratio of 1 to 1.6180. This ratio of 1 to 1.618 forms a golden rectangle, which when sectioned with infinite other golden rectangles forms the golden spiral found in so many natural forms, such as the spiral arms of galaxies, seashells, plant formation, and even DNA spirals. As above, so below, as the golden ratio is responsible for the harmony of the galaxy, right down to DNA. We can even see a golden ratio spiral at the top of our baby girl Alira's head, being held in Crystal's arms. Once we reach 1 to 1.61803398887, we can do the calculations based on Crystal's number 591. Could we still evolve after death in the solar system? Are the heavens right in front of us every day? Crystal calling out my name, piercing the hotel room at 591 days after her death, being a perfect ratio of Earth's sidereal orbit of exactly 365.256363004 to the golden ratio of 365.258 days per year. That's 99.999% accurate. In fact, our timekeeping isn't 100% accurate. It's never 100% accurate because of deviations that occur in the solar systems every year that scientists don't even understand. 591 to the golden ratio will also decode the entire solar system. Plus, it will give us the orbits of Dante's 9 extraplanetary spheres of the 9 levels of the angelic order, and solve the greatest mystery of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, Portugal in 1917 that to this date no astronomer has ever resolved. Formerly classified astronomy photographs taken at the Palomar Observatory in California April 12, 1950, magically captured 9 stars or bright planets appearing out of nowhere in our solar system arena. Suddenly appeared for a duration of less than half an hour and then disappeared without any trace or explosion, which is impossible using classical physics. Stars or planets don't suddenly vanish without a trace. Note that it was 9, the exact number of extra planets in the solar system revealed by Crystal Sereda and Dante's afterlife vision. If we look at the date Crystal called out my name in Banff, Alberta, March 23, 2023, and we check the harmony of that date to the start of a solar year at December 25th, December 25th to March 23rd is exactly 88 days, which is a perfect harmony of the orbit of the planet Mercury, which takes 88 days in Earth time to orbit 1 time around the Sun, which is Dante's 2nd level of heaven. Crystal knows exactly what she is doing in the assistance of the harmony of the order, proving once again she is alive within Dante's model of the afterlife solar system. There are 2 harmonic start dates for a harmonic year. One is January 6th and 7th, which are the dates the earliest Christian church, the Orthodox Church, of which Crystal was baptized, celebrates Christmas. January 6th is 3 days after winter perihelion. The other start date is December 25th. Western and Catholic European churches celebrate Christmas, which is 3 days after winter solstice, which is typically between December 21st or 22nd each year. January 1st is the average between both points of January 6th and December 25th. We will use these 2 start dates to reveal the hidden harmony of the order of the real solar system known since antiquity. Okay, so the best way to explain this, I made a kind of model of the solar system with the sun and the orbits of planets, and we're just going to look at the inner solar system. Starting here, Crystal calls out my name at 591 days after she died And then we divide that by the golden ratio, 1.61803398887, and we get the exact orbital period of Earth, which is 365.256 days. 99.999% accurate is 100% accurate because we don't keep time every year at 100%. Then divided by the golden ratio again, I get Venus accurate to 99.538%. How is this happening? From a deceased person giving me this formula is remarkable. Divided by the golden ratio again, we get a planet between Venus and Mercury that shouldn't be there, but yet it lines up with the miracle of the sun at Fatima and the Ascension Day of Jesus, which is 40 days after Easter, tracked on a lunar calendar. We're going to go really deeply into this. Divided by the golden ratio again, I get Mercury's orbit accurate to 98%. How is this happening? Divided by the golden ratio two more times, I get to 97% of the tracked orbit of hypothetical planet Vulcan, which is a planet that astronomers actually saw in the 19th century through their telescopes. But they would see it and then they couldn't see it. They knew it wasn't a sunspot because they rolled out sunspot cycles. This was a real planet that has not been confirmed, but yet they saw it and then they didn't see it. So this planet either has the ability to go interdimensional, hyperdimensional, which could explain planet 13951, and you'll see the proof of this, that this is what really caused the miracle of the sun at Fatima when we go through the rest of the exploration. Then later we'll do the outer solar system. The date of the first apparition of the Mother Mary of Jesus to the three children at Fatima, Portugal, was May the 13th, 1917. If we take December 25th, 1916 as a start date for a new solar year, counting to May 13th, 1917 is 139 days, which is one orbit of planet 139.51. Then if we look at the date of the miracle of the sun itself, when hyperdimensional planet 139.51 would have transited the sun between Earth and the village of Fatima, Portugal at the exact time predicted by the Mother Mary of Jesus for all of the 60,000 plus witnesses to see, it was October 13th, 1917. Mysteriously, using our second start date of January 7th, which is Orthodox Christmas, to October 13th is 279 days, equal to 139.51 times 2 orbits equals 279. This is astounding proof of the existence of this planet that no astronomer has ever resolved. In fact, because there was no Venus transit, no Mercury transit, and no solar eclipse on that date at that location, what else could it have been? Except what the mathematical evidence proves, that there's a hyperdimensional planet in our solar system with an orbit of 139.51 days to quite possibly 144 days per orbital year. In the Bible New Testament, in its original Greek language that it was written in, the word for heaven is Uranos, or Uranus, the Greek god of the creation of the all-seeing eye, and the Titans, the gods who created the Olympians, and with Uranos created the human race with Earth. That word Uranos was translated into English to the word we call heaven today. This word appeared 279 times in the original Greek language of the New Testament. Again, 279 times is equal to 2 orbits of planet 139.51. Is the biblical code hiding the orbit of this sacred planetary heaven that is responsible for the miracle of the sun at Fatima in 1917? Jesus himself is said to have orated this word for heaven within an accuracy of 88 times, and in various translations into different languages between 83 and 90 times. That means he is using the word heaven in harmony to the orbit of Mercury, the messenger of God. During the miracle of the sun at Fatima in Portugal in 1917, October 13th, witnesses described a spinning phenomenon within the sun. A lawyer's testament of the miracle of the sun, Dr. Domingos Pinto Coelho, a lawyer reporting for the Catholic newspaper of the time, described the event as follows. The sun at one moment surrounded with a scarlet flame, at another aureoled in yellow and deep purple, seemed to be in an exceedingly swift and whirling movement. A journalist reports the miracle of the sun. A reporter from the Lisbon paper O Dia saw it this way. The silver sun, enveloped in the same gauzy gray light, was seen to whirl and turn in a circle of broken clouds. This is exactly how Dante described looking into the 9 extra spheres, the planets of the angels, that they spun incredibly fast. Why is the description the same? Jesus' day of ascension is 40 days after Easter, when he resurrects into his new body on Easter morning. He appears to his disciples and apostles for 40 days. After this window of 40 days in his new resurrected body, he physically ascends with this new body into the sky. But no one asked to where did his new body ascend to. No one knows where the prophets ascended to either. They just go up into the sky like the prophet Elijah did in a whirlwind, vortex, and disappeared. I will demonstrate that Jesus ascended to planet 139.51 in perfect harmony between the orbit of Mercury and Venus. This same hyperdimensional planet caused the miracle of the sun at Fatima and eluded astronomers for decades. Remember, the Orthodox Church celebrates Easter and the Day of Ascension based on their calendar from Christmas being January 6th to 7th, and the Catholic and Christian churches celebrate based on Christmas being December 25th each year. January 1st, New Year's Day, is the average between both dates. Because we actually live in a hyperdimensional solar system, we actually do have 2 suns, as the ancient Greeks discovered, that are in harmony with 2 sets of planets. The lower set we see from Mercury to Neptune, and the higher set of angelic planets, which Dante saw, governed by the 9 planetary spheres of the angels. This is slowly going to become crystal clear to Crystal Sereda's formula of 591 to the golden ratio. If we look at the date that the mother of Jesus first appears to the 3 children at Fatima again, May 13th, and we add Crystal Sereda's 591 days, it equals December 25th, 1918, which is the date of the Catholic and Christian Christmas. How is this happening with a number from a deceased person? If we take the date of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, October 13th, 1917, and add 591 days, we get May 27th, 1919, which is within the date of Jesus' ascension in 1919 by 2 days. Now, if we take January 7th as an Orthodox Christmas for the year 1919 to May 27th, we get 140 days. Remember, 139.51 rounded off is 140 days in a calendar year. This is one orbit of planet 139.51 to 140. Again, why is this happening with a mathematical code from a deceased person, Crystal Sereda? The mystery is only going to get deeper. We are going to see the evidence that, as the ancient Greeks discovered, there is a sun behind the sun with its own hyperdimensional set of 9 to 10 planets that are within this solar system. Dr. Beatrice Villarreal, part of the Soul Foundation and Vanishing Stars research groups, is a young physicist who is studying the sudden vanishing of stars that leave no trace behind. Astonishing astronomers. A subject the public has never been privy to.
What observatory slides were you using?
So we were using glass, or like digitized glass plates. So they have actually digitized all these images, or not all, many of them, from the Palomar Observatory, which is in California. So
that's on the west coast of the United States.
Exactly. And so we have used those and we compared them to Pan-STARRS, which is from 2013 and 2015, these 10 years ago. And we compared the images of the sky, and we looked for, while we were looking for vanishing stars, suddenly one day, and this actually, as a fun thing, this happened exactly the same week as the pandemic started in Europe, that I found this image of 9 stars that were there on the 12th of April 1950, and that were not there again and couldn't be seen there half an hour earlier either.
She cites glass plate photographs taken at the Palomar Observatory in California April 12, 1950, where 9 stars appeared, and notes stars can be planets until confirmed, suddenly appeared for a duration of less than half an hour, and then disappeared without any trace or explosion, which is impossible using classical physics. Stars or planets don't suddenly vanish without a trace. The fact that there was no residue on the photographs afterwards means astrophysicists do not know how or why a whole bright planet or star could do this. There is no known explanation in astronomy to explain it, other than hyperdimensional physics. The day the 9 stars appeared and suddenly vanished, April 12, 1950, was 2 days after Easter, April 10, 1950, which cannot be a coincidence. That year, both Orthodox and Catholic Western churches celebrated Easter Monday the same day, April 10th, when normally they are days apart, being on different calendars. Obviously, Easter is off course, being on a lunar calendar, cross-measured on a solar calendar today. December 25th, 1949 to April 12th, 1950 is 108 days. 2 orbits of planet Cherubim is 98.68% of 108 days in a solar year. This disappearance of 9 spheres is exactly what we need to confirm the 9 extra planets in Crystal Sereda's and Dante's vision in the Paradiso. It is astounding that these photographs have been buried from public view since 1950. Okay, so we can see that Dr. Beatrice Villarreal is part of this research institute team called Vanishing Stars and the Hunt for Extraterrestrial Artifacts. And this is a very, very serious concerted effort that is in tandem with the Soul Foundation, which has Gary Nolan, Stanford researcher, has Timothy Gallaudet, is the former U.S. Navy admiral who actually believes that the near-death experience may help solve the UFO-UAP riddle. Dr. Avi Loeb is the one who believes that Oumuamua, this incoming asteroid body, was intelligently directed extraterrestrial. And And there we can see Beatrice here. And Jacques Vallée, who is Steven Spielberg's advisor on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, is an actual astronomer residing in Paris and San Francisco, California, and who is also a well-known UFO researcher. So why is all this happening? And note that she deducts they are not satellites because the date she gives us is April the 12th, 1950, which is 3 days after Easter in 1950. We'll check that on my clock. And also that there were 9 objects, and they are not shooting stars, they're not meteors, and they're not satellites because there was no satellites in space around the Earth in 1950, which means there was a very clean environment. And to call them vanishing stars is to suggest a huge object even bigger than a planet, and they don't know whether they're planets or stars, appeared and then disappeared a half an hour later. Pope Pius XII saw the same miracle of the sun 33 years later on October 30th, 1950, during his daily walk in the Vatican gardens, awestruck by what he witnessed in Rome, Italy that day. He said, quote, "The sun, which was still quite high, looked like a pale, opaque sphere, entirely surrounded by a luminous circle, and one could look directly at the sun without the slightest bother. There was a very light little cloud in front of it." He continues, "The opaque sphere that moved outward slightly, either spinning or moving left to right and vice versa. But within the sphere, you could see marked movements with total clarity without interruption." Pius XII said he saw the same phenomena the 31st of October and November 1st, and then again November 8th, after that no more. Note that Pope Pius XII sees the spinning, the same that was witnessed at Fatima, and the same as Dante reported of the upper 9 planetary spheres, planets of the angelic order of the solar system, being in this high spin state. Also note that the date of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, October 13th, 1917, and Pope Pius XII seeing the miracle of the sun in October 1950 are 33 years apart. Guess what else is 33 years apart? The star of Bethlehem at the birth of Jesus marks his birth and could have been planet 139.51 because 33 years later, the age Jesus was on the cross, the 33 years that had passed since the Star of Bethlehem, now arises the eclipse on the cross, producing 3 hours of darkness on the cross, which astronomers ruled out was caused by a lunar solar eclipse, nor a transit of Venus. Was planet 139.51 responsible for Fatima's miracle of the sun October 13th, 1917, and then again 33 years later on October 30th to November 1st, witnessed by Pope Pius XII in 1950? We know the answer because we know that there are rare events called transits of Venus which occur in pairs that take place 8 years apart, followed by a gap of 121.5 years before another pair of transits of Venus occurs 8 years apart, followed by another gap of 105 years. The dates advance about 2 days per 243-year cycle. The last pairs of Venus transits occurred 8 years apart on the 8th of June 2004 and the 5th-6th of June 2012. The next pair of Venus transits will occur on 10-11 December 2117 and the 8th of December 2125. While transits of Venus can be 8 years apart in pairs, transits of the planet that caused the Star of Bethlehem and the eclipse during the crucifixion are 33 years apart, as well as Fatima and Pope Pius witnessing the same miracle of the sun 33 years later. Transits of Earth can only be seen on Mars and the outer solar system, not the inner solar system. Transits of Earth from Mars occur in pairs, just like Venus, with one following the other after 79 years. The transits of Earth in front of Mars also follow a 284-year cycle, occurring at intervals of 100.5, 79, 25.5, and 79 years. It is not possible to see a transit of Earth from Mars, but the next transit will take place on November 10th, 2084. The last such transit took place on May 11th, 1984. Transits of Mercury are the most frequent. The last of 4 such transits occurred on May 7th, 2003, November 8th, 2006, May 9th, 2016, and November 11th, 2019. The next will occur on November 13th, 2032. A typical transit lasts several hours. Mercury transits are more frequent than transits of Venus, with about 13 or 14 per century, primarily because Mercury is closer to the Sun and orbits it more rapidly. We can see from all the data the 2 events of the Jesus Star of Bethlehem at his birth and 33 years later the mysterious eclipse on the cross and the 3 hours of darkness is the same paired transits of Mystery Planet 139.51. Fatima, Miracle of the Sun, October 13th, 1917, and Pope Pius's Miracle of the Sun, October 30th, 1950, being 33 years apart. We are looking at a pair of transits of a planetary body that is unknown to astronomers in the inner solar system between Earth and the Sun. The real Star of Bethlehem is this mysterious planet that was actually tracked by ancient astronomers for over 10,000 years. Yom Kippur, known as the Day of Atonement, began for the Israelites after the Exodus from Egypt and the arrival of God on Mount Sinai, and began the day Moses brought the Sapphire Commandment tablets down from the mountain the second time. Did the God of the prophets arrive and leave in perfect harmony to planet 139.51? Yom Kippur is a date that follows the lunar calendar and comes in perfect alignment to 2 orbits of planet 139.51 on this chart from December 25th as a start date and January 7th as a start date to a new solar year, revealing in this chart tracking Yom Kippur for 24 years. In 2024, Yom Kippur will appear on October 11-12, which is within the anniversary date for Fatima's Miracle of the Sun, October 13th. January 7th, 2024 to October 12th, 2024 is 279 days, which is 2 orbits of 139.51 times 2 equals 279, which is the number of times the word heaven appears in the New Testament. The Buddha's birthday on a lunar calendar also follows planet 139.51, as this chart reveals. It comes into mid-alignment periodic to the lunar calendar. In 2024 in Tibet and many Asian countries, Buddha's birthday is celebrated May 26th. January 7th, 2024 to May 26th is 140 days, which is accurate to 139.51 days to 99.65%. In Bangladesh 2024, Buddha's birthday is celebrated May 15th, mid-May, the same as the first date the Mother Mary appeared to the 3 children at Fatima. December 25th to May 15th is 142 days, which is 98.24% accurate to 139.51. Even the Buddha appears to be in harmony with this hidden orbit of hyperdimensional planet 139.51.